right, good afternoon. Starting off with the Secretary General, who spoke a bit earlier today at the Fifth Committee, which, as you all know, is the General Assembly's Money Committee. And he spoke there to introduce the proposed program budget for 2026. Mr. Guterres said the proposed budget demonstrates an enhanced focus on mandate delivery. Over 70% of planned quantitative targets now aim for 10% or greater increase in performance. Secretary General said the proposed program budget for 2026 is $3.715 billion and is slightly below the 2025 approved budget, and it provides slightly below the approved budget. Ultimately, the Secretary General said effective delivery in 2026 will very much depend on the timely and full payment of assessed contributions. Despite earlier hopes, the downward trend of collection continues. Turning to the situation in the occupied Palestinian Territory, a short while ago I spoke to Tom Fletcher, our humanitarian coordinator, who just entered Gaza a few hours ago. He crossed from Egypt through the Israeli side of the Karim Shalom crossing. He then drove to Deir al-Balah, where he visited the Castle Bakery, which is one of the 9 bakeries that the World Food Programme supports with fuel and ingredients across central and southern Gaza. This bakery used to be the largest bakery in Khan Yunis, where it served thousands of families until it had to relocate due to a displacement order issued by the Israelis. The ceasefire has meant that the bakery now can access fuel and flour, allowing it to produce up to 300,000 loaves of pita bread per day. Also in Deir al-Balah, Mr. Fletcher met with those leading our efforts in meeting with our UN staff and our partners who have been working so hard for the last 2 years and more. He's set to meet more humanitarian workers later this evening. He will be overnighting in the Gaza Strip. In a post on social media, Mr. Fletcher said humanitarian teams are delivering on our 60-day plan to massively scale up life-saving work, noting that the challenges ahead are immense, but he said we are determined to deliver on the humanitarian possibilities created by Mr. Trump's peace deal. Before heading to Gaza, Mr. Fletcher was in Egypt. While in Rafah yesterday, he witnessed trucks full of aid heading to Karim Shalom, Karim Abu Salam. He thanked humanitarian teams, the Egyptian Red Crescent, the authorities, and everyone involved in getting the peace deal in place. Mr. Fletcher also visited Al Arish Hospital in Egypt yesterday, which has treated hundreds of Palestinians that had been evacuated from Gaza for medical care. Yesterday in Gaza, we, along with our partners, continued to collect medical supplies, food, fuel, and other cargo from the Karim Shalom, Karim Abu Salam, and the Kisufim crossings. This included 20 trucks carrying tents, diapers, hygiene kits, as well as 3 others loaded with personal hygiene kits, 8 tankers loaded with diesels, 2 trucks carrying animal fodder, which will be distributed to herders in Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis. OCHA reports that much more can be done once more crossings are open, basic infrastructure is restored, NGO access is facilitated, and looting further reduces. Meanwhile, families in Gaza continue to move towards newly accessible areas. Our partners monitoring the flow of people across the Gaza Strip report that on Wednesday, more than 17,600 movements were recorded from south to north, and 12,900 movements were recorded from western to eastern Khan Yunis. Quick update from our peacekeeping colleagues in southern Lebanon, who, as you know, are actively monitoring and reporting on violations of Resolution 1701 in their area of operations. The peacekeepers continue to discover unauthorized weapons caches. On Thursday, mortar shells were found in Sector West, while on Tuesday, a joint patrol with the Lebanese army discovered damaged rockets and their launchers in Sector East. UNIFIL also continues to observe Israeli Defense Forces military activities in the area of operations, including on Wednesday, where mortar fire from south of the Blue Line was detected, impacting near Yarun in Sector West, and also on Wednesday in Sarda in Sector East. IDF soldiers pointed infrared lasers at UNIFIL patrol vehicles. We once again stress that these interferences with our mandated work must stop immediately. Meanwhile, UNIFIL's Maritime Task Force conducted training sessions this week with Lebanese Navy personnel aboard a Maritime Task Force vessel. Separately, peacekeepers in Sector East trained with Lebanese Army personnel to address threats posed by explosive remnants of war. Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the boss of our peace operations, is concluding his visit to South Sudan, where he met with President Salva Kiir, senior ministers, and the diplomatic community in Juba. Discussions focused on escalating political violence and progress required in order to achieve peace. He also engaged with his interlocutors on the impact of the UN-wide financial crisis on our peacekeeping mission in South Sudan. UNMISS will have to cut spending by 15% this financial year. Mr. Lacroix reiterated that UNMISS will continue its efforts to protect civilians and support implementation of the peace agreement, despite all of the challenges that we know of. He requested the support of the South Sudanese authorities to help mitigate the impact of the changes caused by the liquidity crisis and on UNMISS operations. While in the region, as you know, he also went to Abyei, where he met with our peacekeeping colleagues and others to discuss the security situation, the impact of liquidity cuts on peacekeeping operations there. Meanwhile, in the Central African Republic, the Assistant Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Deputy Emergency Coordinator Joyce Msuya wrapped up her visit to that country. She said the Central African Republic stands at a crossroads, and this is the moment to turn fragile stability into lasting progress by working hand in hand across humanitarian, development, and peace efforts. During her visit, Ms. Msuya met with senior government officials in Bangui before traveling to the towns of Zemio in the southeast, Bria in the center of the country, and Birao in the northeast, where she spoke with displaced families, community leaders, local responders. She paid tribute to the courage and to the dedication of those on the front lines of the crisis, calling them the backbone of aid efforts and the ones keeping hope alive despite immense challenges there. Ms. Msuya also noted that while humanitarian needs remain high, with 1 in 3 people in need of assistance, improved security in some regions has allowed displaced people to return home and rebuild their lives. She also announced the allocation of $8 million from the Central African Republic Humanitarian Fund for urgent priorities in Zemio and Birao. And moving to Nigeria, next week from the 20th to the 22nd, a UN mission will visit the country to highlight Nigeria's efforts to advance durable solutions for internally displaced people. The mission will be led by Ugochi Daniels, the Deputy Director of the International Organization for Migration, and Rauf Mazou, the Assistant High Commissioner for Operations at the UN Refugee Agency, and Shoko Noda, the Director of the Crisis Bureau at UNDP. During their visit, they will meet with government representatives, partners, and of course UN staff in the field. The mission aims to showcase Nigeria's progress and best practices that could inform global approaches to internal displacement, advocate for stronger collaboration in achieving durable solutions, and mobilize greater support and financing for development-oriented responses. As of July, an estimated 3.5 million Nigerians remained internally displaced due to conflict, due to violence, and to the impact of climate shocks. The northeast of the country remains its most impacted region, and Northeast hosted 2.1 million of those 3.5. This year, estimated 7.8 million people in northern Nigeria require humanitarian assistance, yet only 1.3 million have been reached so far. And someone, but not in this room, asked me yesterday about talks between Türkiye and the PKK, and I can tell you the following, that the Secretary General continues to follow progress made regarding the decision of the Kurdistan Workers' Party to dissolve and disarm. As he stated earlier, this decision, if implemented, represents another important step towards peaceful resolution of a long-standing conflict. He encourages all to work towards the good faith implementation of the accord. Two more items. The UN Development Program and Oxford University's Poverty Human Initiative released today a report showing that 8 in 10 people living in multidimensional poverty, this is 887 million people out of 1.1 million globally, they are directly exposed to climate hazards as extreme heat, flooding, drought, or air pollution. The report, released ahead of COP30 climate summit in Brazil, represents new evidence that the climate crisis is reshaping global poverty. The findings reveal reveal a world where poverty is not just standalone socioeconomic issues, but one that is deeply interlinked with planetary pressures and instability. Could I get my phone? Today is speaking of that report, today is the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. Families living in poverty too often face stigma and unfair treatment, even in the very places meant to support them, such as schools, clinics, welfare offices, and child protection offices. In his message, the Secretary General calls for inclusive policies, including fair wage, affordable health care, housing, quality education, universal social protection, to ensure that no one is left behind. Pam and then Edie.
Thanks, Jeff. What are the implications of the GHF suspending their operations in Gaza? Does the UN pick up their posts?
Listen, the GHF was not a partner of ours. They did what they did. The setup that they had did not meet UN standards. We will go back to doing business as we did, which is getting aid to those who need it and ensuring that they don't get killed while trying to get it.
And will the posts that they set up,
those, as I said, those militarized
Okay.
barbed wire places were not places where we
Okay.
operate.
Thank you.
Edie.
Thank you, Steph. I am assuming that Israel granted permission for Tom Fletcher to visit Gaza. This would be the first time is this the first time?
Yeah, it's the first time he's been there since the ceasefire. We want to express our thanks to the U.S., to the White House, which played a big part in allowing in getting the approvals from the Israelis and from the Egyptians for him to get in.
Secondly, is Mr. Fletcher or any other senior UN official involved in discussions on phase 2 of the ceasefire plan for Gaza?
Not that I'm aware of. Deji, then Lenka.
First, also on Gaza, we still remember that Mr. Fletcher the other day said in the first 60 days there will be thousands of trucks inside Gaza. According to your description today, is that the scenario now?
No, I mean we're not in the more trucks are getting in. I flagged to you some of the stuff that we were able to get in. The numbers made public by COGAT was 950 trucks yesterday. That's the number they gave the mediators, but that includes private sector, that includes bilateral, and that also includes some UN coordinated trucks.
So what about the humanitarian aid delivery inside Gaza? Has these aids been picked up?
Yes, I mean that's what I just said earlier, and that's what we've been talking about every day. There is a notable increased pace of delivery. It's now in extremely challenging circumstances that remain because of the rubble, unexploded ordnances. We're now able to go to where people are needed. We're increasing the aid in North Gaza. I think I gave a pretty long description of what WHO was doing yesterday. So the pace is picking up. We need more aid to come in. We need more crossings to be open.
Okay, another issue. Today, IMO, the International Maritime Organization, postponed a vote on cutting maritime emission because of several countries, including U.S., strong opposition. What is the reaction from the Secretary General on the result of this?
It's a missed opportunity.
And
it's a missed opportunity for member states to place the shipping sector on a clear, credible path towards net zero emissions. You know, the shipping sector, central to our global economy, is responsible for about 3% of global emissions. So the decarbonization of that sector is critical.
Does the Secretary General concern that the U.S. President threatened to put sanctions against those countries who
Look,
support
we've seen reports. This was a decision. I mean, the decision to postpone, right, not to take action.
Yes.
It's not the end of the road, but obviously the ball's been kicked down the field quite a bit. Is a decision by member states after deliberations. Lenka.
Thank you, Steph. President Trump suggested that he won't give Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. At the same time, we are now having scheduled another summit between Presidents Trump and Putin. How do you view these developments? And is the UN going to participate in any form? Are you doing calls? Thank you so much.
You know, Lenka, we're watching the news like you are. We're not going to provide, you know, minute-by-minute color commentary on what is being said, where things are going. I think our position on what we would like to see and how we would like to see the end of this conflict in Ukraine is well known. I'm sure you yourself could recite what I'm going to say if I want to say it, but I think I've said it enough. We of course stand ready to assist in the implementation of an agreement that would lead to a just, durable peace in Ukraine, in line with international law, in line with relevant resolutions, and Ukraine's territorial integrity. Yes, ma'am.
Zina from Free Yemen News and Homeland News. I have a question about your staff who are held in Yemen. Do you have any news about them?
No, sadly, the 53 colleagues remain in arbitrary detention, and as I said yesterday, we reject categorically all of the accusations against them. Some of them have been held since 2021, and they need to be released.
Are you negotiating with any part?
We're not negotiating. We are pushing directly in contacts with Ansar Allah, with the de facto Houthi authorities. We, of course, are using other channels. There are member states that have, let's say, better communications with the Houthi leadership. We're using that and every available channel. But it is not a negotiations. It is a push to get our people freed. Abdelhamid, then Islam.
Thank you, Stéphane. I'll start with the Rafah crossing. Why it's still closed? I mean, what information you can give us about the Rafah crossing? Who's derailing?
I don't. You know, the keys to all of the crossings are not jangling from our belts. I mean, these are not our. We do not have the keys to the locks to the crossings. So those are questions you need to ask the Israelis, you need to ask the Egyptians. What we want to see is the crossings open.
My second question, this is the olive picking season in the West Bank. The settlers are going in rampage. I can give you the names of many, many villages from Aqraba to Farkha to Silfit, been attacking the farmers, picking their olives. What can you say?
Well, I mean, we have regularly, we report, and our OCHA colleagues report weekly on the situation in the occupied West Bank, notably on the increased attacks by settlers on Palestinian farmers on their farmland, which is unacceptable to say the least.
My last question, although I have many others.
I'm sure we could.
But there is
I can go 15 rounds with you.
A second attack on some boats near Venezuela, and some people were killed. So, as you can see, tension is going high, and the Venezuelan government, I think, mobilizing the public now. So, what the UN can do to diffuse the situation?
We're very concerned about the increasing confrontational rhetoric. It is critical that all parties involved do whatever they can to de-escalate, and that any action taken by member states be in full respect of international law and the Charter. Islam, sorry.
Thank you, Stéphane. My understanding is that, as you just stated, 958 trucks enter into Gaza, and you seem like United Nations seems like relying upon COGAT in this regard. Given the Israel's record on what they say about the famine and about the humanitarian situation in Gaza, how do you verify that COGAT's information is correct? What's your mechanism on that?
These are numbers given by COGAT to the mediators, right? When numbers are not UN numbers, I think I try to be as precise as possible in giving you the source of those numbers, right? So they're not our numbers. We are able, obviously, to verify and to check the numbers of trucks we pick up, right? Because those are ours. The others, we have to. We have to believe that the numbers given to the mediators are true numbers, and trucks are pretty easy to count. As I've said, I hope that we will have a mechanism in the next few days where we are able to give you our own numbers. Part of the challenge is that we do not have UN monitors at every place where the trucks go through. Yes, sir. And then I'll go to Alex in the back.
Thank you, Steph. I'll follow up on Venezuela. US President Trump said Wednesday that he had authorized covert CIA operations in Venezuela. Does the SG consider that a violation of the UN Charter? And will the SG issue a statement on Venezuela?
I mean,
Thank you.
I think I said what I had to say yesterday. I've just answered the question. As I said, we're very worried about the escalating confrontational rhetoric. Alex.
Thanks, Steph. Quick follow-up on Mr. Fletcher's trip to Gaza. So he's staying overnight in Gaza, right?
Yes, sir.
Where is he staying? Is it safe there?
Well, I very much hope that it is safe. But he is not the only UN person in Gaza. We have a lot of our Palestinian colleagues are there, a lot of internationals. There are a number of houses that our colleagues, I mean, Olga, who you've seen on the screen, stays at, and we believe it is safe.
Thanks. May I have one more?
Please.
Could you please remind us the Secretary General's position on the Resolution 2231 that some countries believe will be expired tomorrow?
Which is?
GCPOA.
Sorry?
JCPOA.
I would encourage you to read my past transcripts, which will give you our position. They're easy enough to get. Gabriel.
Thanks, Steph. You just
But
said
nice try, Alex.
You just said the UN doesn't have monitors at all of the places
Right.
where the aid's coming in. Can you just explain why?
Because we're not always allowed to have them there.
By who?
By the Israelis. But we, again, I think we're all living we're learning to live in a new environment, and we hope that all these procedures will be made easier. We've had better cooperation from the Israeli side, and we hope it moves in that direction.
And thank you. And Michael Fakhri, the UN Special Rapporteur on the right to food, spoke here to the Third Committee this morning. He had some pretty strong words. He said that not only has the UN failed in Gaza, but the UN, in his words, died in Gaza, failing to prevent the famine and children dying of starvation. I know what a special rapporteur is and isn't, but those are pretty strong comments about the organization.
My response to him is, which UN is he speaking about? Is he speaking about the thousands of UN staff who've been in Gaza, the more than 300 of our colleagues who've been killed trying to help? right? All of our colleagues who have never left Gaza, who've stood side by side with the Palestinians, trying to feed them. So again, I think if I've said this before, there's a lot of genuine criticism to be aimed at this organization. All that we ask is that people be clear as to which part of the organization they're unhappy about. Edith, letter, and then we'll go to Islam.
Just a quick follow-up, Steph. What's the UN estimate of the number of the 950 trucks that were
I
UN?
don't have, I wish I had that breakdown today, but I do not. Sorry. Islam, and then Deji.
And just follow up the same question again. You used to tell us about giving the OCHA as a sources how many trucks enter into the Gaza, but last a few days, mostly source relying upon COGAT. Does it mean that there's sort of disconnection after the ceasefire between COGAT and OCHA, and what's the reason for that?
I think it just means that we are, as I said, living in a new and trying to operate in a new environment, and I think everybody is trying to find the best way to operate, to get as much humanitarian aid in, and we very much hope that we will be able to provide you with our own numbers very soon.
And if I may just continue, is there any other mechanism other than UN, like parties of the ceasefire that can confirm or push for
the COGAT
humanitarian
numbers
aids?
are being shared with the mediators to this. There is also bilateral aid. We know that Türkiye is sending aid. I think Jordan is, Qatar and others, and Egypt, which may not go through the UN. And as we've said repeatedly, there's enough work for everybody, right? We can't handle all the needs alone. Deji?
Just an inquiry, will it be okay that if Mr. Fletcher coming back and share some of his
It would be okay.
thoughts?
I mean, we were in touch this morning when I spoke to him. He really wanted to be piped in today, but just the logistics, the connectivity didn't allow it. Unfortunately, this is Friday, but we'll try to get him as soon as we can. Abdelhamid.
Thank you again. The Israeli government is pressuring ICC to drop the charges against the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister. Any thoughts on that?
The ICC is independent from us. I don't have any specific comments.
One more thing.
Yes, please.
A statement came out from the White House saying that they will only allow white immigrants to come to the U.S. Isn't that a flagrant case of racism?
Look, we will leave that analysis to journalists. Every country has a right and a responsibility to control its own borders. We do hope that every member state that has the capacity opens their hearts and their land, so to speak, to ensure that those refugees who are fleeing violence, who are fleeing persecution, find safety. Yes, madam.
What could the United Nations do to create peace all over the world without any member of 2 or 3 who feel powerful to create destabilization, especially in the Council, Security Council? I know it's a critical question, but what could you do?
It's a very good question. I think one step would be that if all member states lived up to the commitments they themselves signed on to when they joined this organization. That means signing on to the UN Charter, signing on to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That would be a good step. Alex, you want to really go after that? Yeah.
I'm sorry for that. A really quick follow-up. Another one on Mr. Fletcher's trip to Gaza.
Yeah.
Could you please be more specific? What role did the United States play in his approval?
Listen, my understanding is that the White House fully backed his visit and ensured that he got all the right permissions. It got them quickly.
So if another UN official wants to go to Gaza, He needs to.
No. This is not this. We're not talking about creating a new system, right? We're at the beginning of a new phase, right? And so we very much hope that Israel will permit every UN, not so much senior officials, but all of the staff, the international staff that we'll need to have in Gaza, nutrition experts, health experts, demining experts. We will need a lot more people, and we hope they will be allowed in without any challenges and without the need to involve others. Oh, come on, Islam. All right.
Thank you, Stéphane, again.
I should be quicker, but it's Friday, so I'm slow. Go ahead.
I'm hesitating to ask this question, but I will ask anyway. There is a sort of discussion, especially in the Western world, about, rebuilding Ukraine. Russia should rebuild the Ukraine. My question is, if it's not too early, does the UN think Israel should share some responsibility of rebuilding Gaza? Was this ever on the table, or do you think this might come ever to the table?
Look, whenever you hesitate to ask a question, you can always not ask it. No, I'm kidding. Listen, the cost of rebuilding Gaza will be immense. The international community will have to come together, and we very much hope that they will for the benefit of the Palestinians. On that note, have a great weekend.